But do you think Baba would have been proud that he had done that?
Of course.
Alright, symbols. What do you guys think? Some symbols from the book.
I would say definitely the kite. And in my perspective, I think the kite symbolizes freedom and just, the peace of Afghanistan prior to the Russian invasion and prior to the Taliban. And I think another one of my favorite passages is at the end of the book when they're in San Francisco and they're in the park and they're surrounded by all these Afghanistan people, and the kites are in the air, and I remember seeing, and Sarab had smiled for like the first time since he was in America. I think that was finally like the completion of the cyclic way the book was written, and it finally ended with peace, and it finally ended with this time of prosperity, and it was finally, the hardships were finally over.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the kite kind of as like a reminder of the past and like the great times that he had with Hassan and just flying kites in general, and how that was a time where he was in peace with himself and with everything around him and his surroundings, and how everything was so good. And then finally, after all his life living those hardships, like you said, it comes full circle and he's finally starting to feel normalcy again.
I feel like the kite resembled Amir's happiness and then guilt, and so like when he's flying the kite, he feels at ease and peaceful, and he feels like he can enjoy life. And then when there's like no wind and he can't get the kite to fly, and I feel like that's when he feels like guilt and remorse for what had happened.
Yeah. The kite not being able to fly was also, you could compare it to kind of what it was like when the Taliban and Russia were controlling Afghanistan, because no kites were being flown, no kites were being run, because it was just this time of great, what's the word? Great
Struggles?
Yeah, but more like
Hardships.
Like oppression?
Yeah, oppression. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So what did you guys most like about the novel overall, like plot-wise and just how it was written?
Well, I thought it was a pretty haunting book, and I feel like you really didn't find closure until the end of the book when Sarab finally smiled.
But do you even find closure? Because I'm sitting here wondering, like, what happens to Sarab? Does he live a normal life? Does he, come back from all his struggles, or what happens?
Well, I feel like he always is going to have the past with him.
Well, just like Amir does.
But it eventually will fade away. Like, eventually Amir finds peace.
Well, do you think...
And I feel like Sarab needs to do that as well. And it starts with him when they're at the park, when they start flying the kite.
But do you think the past fading away is... Cause
it's never going to be completely gone.
But at the same time, should it be completely gone? Because I feel like the past makes you who you are. And Sarab's
sometimes
past...
you don't want to be that type of person.
Well, do you always have a choice?
Well, not necessarily.
Because I think Sarab's, a perfect example, Sarab's past wasn't written by himself. He was dealt a hand of cards and he had to deal with it. He couldn't have escaped by himself because he was so young. And so I think...
And that's why life isn't fair.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why you have the choices that you make, and the rest of it you have to live with and deal with.
I think the book overall was just a great representation of Afghanistan as a whole, just the country and its people. Just gave very like in-depth detail into how they live and who the people are,
and just the moral high ground that their whole nation is built upon.
Yeah, and it just kind of shows the differences between Afghanistan and the United States, and I kind of like that. And it also seemed very real. Like some books seem fake and phony, but this was just I felt like I was in it, and I could actually be in this position and imagine myself there.
No, I love this book. I thought it was immensely interesting, and once you started really getting into it, you really couldn't stop reading. But at the same time, I think it really changed my perspective of Afghanistan and a lot of the Middle East, because, being at war with them and being previous at war with them and all these different, terrorist threats and all that, it kind of conforms the United States into feeling that Afghanistan and the Middle East is this horrible place who hates Americans. in complete juxtaposition, they're built on a moral high ground, and it's just because of, who has taken over their country, the way they've acted. And I think that the people who make up Afghanistan are completely wholehearted, morally high people who are just trying to live their life to the best of their ability through oppression and through these harsh dictatorships and all these different trials and tribulations through their government.
Yeah, they're definitely people that have gone through a lot of trials, like just a road of trials, like the hero's journey. Yeah. So, I don't know, I mean, it was a great book, I thought. 5 stars, definitely.
Recommend it to all my friends.
What'd you think, reader?
Well, I feel like we can't, we can define them with their culture, but we shouldn't look down upon them just because of their culture and how they act. And I feel like America, frowns upon them just because they have a different culture than us. But I think that we need everybody to be separate, and they need to be individuals, because without that, we'd have like a horrible earth to live on.
All of Earth would suck.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, somebody tell Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, thank you for directing this movie.
Hashimike Halillah makes the remix.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. I can talk about your money, but I really don't.